You may or may have not heard of love bombing. I think it's becoming more of a popular term. Um, and I do have to preface this by saying I've never experienced it myself, which is, I think, why it kind of put me off from talking about it before. But it is a very important thing to know as a fearful avoidant, because we do tend to be quite, how do you say that? We tend to fall for it quite easily. And I never ever want you to feel like you are dumb or anything like that when you have in the past. I just haven't encountered it. That is the only reason that I haven't experienced it. I know for sure that up to maybe even a couple of years ago, when I wasn't fully healed, I may have still fallen for it. Definitely when I didn't know what it was beforehand. Now I know the signs. Now I know what to look for, and I think that that helps me more in not falling victim to it than being completely healed. So it isn't that you have to completely heal the fearful avoidant attachment style before um, being able to recognize love bombing and not fall victim to it. So that is why I want to make this video. If you don't know what love bombing is, the way I see it is somebody giving you an insane amount of gestures that could look like love. So excessive compliments, grand romantic gestures, calling and emailing and texting you a lot, wanting to spend time with you, buying you elaborate gifts, all the things that are actually quite beautiful and can come from a place of absolutely from love. But the difference is that it happens usually very soon in a relationship, and it is quite excessive and obsessive. And this can be hard for fearful avoidance to one, recognize, but second of all, it will feel so good. And that is not just for fearful avoidance. I want to be very clear that even a very securely attached person can absolutely fall for this. So it is not because you were a fearful avoidant or because you are broken or whatever that you will fall victim to this, but you do have more of a soft spot for it, I guess, because of the specific trauma that fearful avoidants usually have. And that's what I want to go into. So recognizing it means seeing that somebody is quite excessive in the way they give compliments and want to spend time with you. And I think I'm decided making this video because somebody commented on under a YouTube video, and I never know if you want to be called out or not. But I'm not gonna mention the name out of privacy. But it was mentioned that love bombing and codependency are a turnoff for fearful avoidance. And it's so interesting because there is a distinct difference between the two. Codependency definitely can be a turnoff for fearful avoidance. If somebody is clingy and needy, a lot of fearful avoidance will not be able to handle that well. But love bombing is a little bit different in the way that it is actually done in a quite charming way a lot of times. And so it really does seem to be all about you. Whereas being needy or clingy, for a fearful avoidant, it sooner is obvious that it is all about the other person wanting approval from you. But love bombing is a manipulation technique. And because we are used to being manipulated, we might miss it. And so it is very important to know what it is. And when you know the reasons why you tend to fall victim to it, victim is not even a good word, I think, fall for it, you will maybe be able to recognize it even more. So the goal with love bombing is to make you feel special. So what the other person wants is for you to love them so deeply that you would never want anybody else. And a lot of times love bombing will actually succeed in that goal. So you will feel special if somebody gives you compliments, beautiful compliments, and they seem very sincere, and grand romantic gestures like you see in the movies, which you've kind of already always dreamed about. It can feel so good. And the feeling good part is not bad. I don't ever want you to feel bad about that. That's just how it's designed. It's normal that that feels good. Any human being usually would feel good having somebody love on them like that. But where the fearful avoidant attachment style comes into play is that a lot of fearful avoidants have this need to be special because they find safety in that. They find um, they believe that when they are special to someone, they will not be abandoned, they will not be rejected, they will be loved forever because they are so different from everybody else. And so this love bombing thing kind of pushes exactly on that core wound, or actually caters to that core wound of needing to be special because otherwise you're not safe. So that is the first point. And the next point is that um, the love bombing part is quite obsessive. So the other person will be obsessive in trying to contact you, trying to give you compliments, wanting to spend so much time with you. And the fearful avoidant attachment style has a lot of obsessive tendencies, a lot of obsessive analyzing, ruminating, worrying, thinking about future scenarios. So that obsessiveness is something that you might recognize and actually feels good that somebody else is obsessive about you for once. Um, and it can kind of fulfill a part of you that never felt satiated, because now somebody is just 110% focused on you and completely obsessed by you. And that can almost feel like it's healing a wound from your childhood where um, your parents or caregivers didn't really care about you or what you wanted or needed. And here this person is trying to just be with you and wanting to get to know you and wanting to be there for you and giving you everything you wanted and needed 24/7. It is not weird, and it is not a dumb thing to have that feel so good. It is not. I never ever want you to think that. It is so logical because, again, it makes you feel special, and the fact that it's obsessive and they don't have room for anything else also gives you a sense of safety in a way, that they won't stray or that they won't cheat or that they won't leave you or reject you or abandon you. If they are this enamored with you, they must be able to give you that safety of never being abandoned that you so desperately seek. Of course, this is not true, unfortunately, but I will come back to that after the 4 points. So the third one, actually, I mentioned already, you get so much attention and you get so much, a lot of the people that use love bombing as a technique, they are very well capable of making you feel very important to them and having all the attention for you, and um, having time and holding space for you in that initial time frame where they love bomb you. And you missed a lot of that as a child. You also missed that attention. So it feels so good to have somebody be that interested in you and what you think and what you have to say and what you believe about the world. Yeah. So again, this is also very logical. And then the fourth one is you want to be needed so badly. And again, this also, your fear brain believes that this will give you safety. When you are needed by somebody, and a lot of times the people who love bomb will say stuff like that, like, I need you, I cannot live without you, I have to have you in my life. it feels good to be needed. It gives you a sense of safety, because a lot of fearful avoidants don't believe that they are worthy because of who they are, but because of what they give to others or what they can do to others. And somebody that is love bombing you will very clearly state that you are giving them so much and they need you and they got to have you in their life. Um, and so you feel valuable, you feel worthy. The thing is that you are worthy and you are valuable, even if you have nothing to offer, if you have nothing to give. You just are, because of who you are. So while I was going through this, I was still kind of like comparing it to codependency, because you also have an anxiously preoccupied person, for instance, who tend to have a lot of codependency tendencies, that can be very clingy and needy, and they can also give you all the attention and give you everything you want and completely adapt to you. But there is a slight difference. Let's see if I can make that clear. Where the love bombing person uses it as a manipulation, um, the codependent or the anxiously preoccupied person will use it as a way for them to feel safe. And so they are seeking that approval from you. That is not what the love bomber is doing. They are not seeking approval. They are very conscious, or not consciously, but they are very directly just trying to make you feel in love with them, fall in love with them, so they can go on to the next stage, which we will talk about, which is not a good one. um, Whereas the anxiously preoccupied person is not so directly trying to make you feel in love with them, because they don't believe that that is possible. They just want your approval and they want to do everything for that approval. So that is much less of a manipulation. It can still be, but it's much less of a manipulation technique than love bombing is. I might make a whole video on this difference between love bombing and codependency. If you're interested, please let me know in the comments below. I will think about it a little bit more. But back to the love bombing. So even though it feels so good, I know for a fact that if I would encounter that now, I would recognize it. Never 100% guarantee, obviously, but I think I would recognize it, but it would also still feel very good, because that's how it's designed to be. That's what manipulation does. It works. We tend to work in the same way, all of us humans. So it's not a question of, oh, it's bad that this feels good. It's totally fine that this feels good and that it feels healing on some level. The unfortunate thing is, and I have thought about this so often, I thought, well, how amazing would it be if that person wouldn't be that obsessive, but just the love bombing itself, giving you a lot of love, showering you with compliments, is not a bad thing necessarily in and of itself. And why do they then stop? I mean, there's so many relationships that actually turn out to be abusive relationships, and unfortunately a lot of those start with love bombing. And the one that uses love bombing actually succeeds in what they wanted, that the other person is completely in love with them. And then I always think, well, you could just keep doing that, and then you maybe would have a wonderful relationship where the other person is just completely in love with you. So why stop that? And I know why. I mean, there's definitely trauma underneath all that too. But love bombing is a red flag, unfortunately, even though it can feel so good. Because in the end, it is not about you. It is about the other person trying to get what they need. And a lot of times, like I said, abusive relationships start off this way. And so the next phase is starting to make you feel insecure. So kind of slyly starting to attack who you are, separating you from family and friends, and starting to get really jealous of who you spend time with. So it kind of like tips over to becoming very, very unhealthy. I mean, I think the love bombing itself, like I said, I haven't I haven't experienced it, but I think it can feel unhealthy in the way that it's really is excessive and obsessive. And a secure attached person might, I'm not saying they will, but might be able to recognize a little bit sooner, wait, this is quite a lot. It doesn't completely feel truthful, or that it's about me really getting to know me, because a lot of times this happens right at the beginning of dating, and so that other person doesn't really know you that well. Um, and so a securely attached person would probably kind of like try to pump the brakes and slow it down, and really get to know the other person, whereas a fearful avoidant tends to either dive in completely um, and then pull back. So you're used to that kind of dynamic already, and that makes you fall for it more too. But it is very important that you recognize this, that you recognize the signs, that you recognize why you would fall for this, that you know that that's not your fault or that you're so broken, because again, securely attached people will also and have also fallen for this so many times in the past. Um, so it really is a matter of just recognizing the red flags, and then also recognizing gaslighting. And I made a whole video on that too, so look that up on my channel. And emotional manipulation, because those three usually kind of go together. And I think another reason why love bombing feels so good to us is because a lot of fearful avoidant parents unconsciously use this too. So the fearful avoidant parent can, and there's a lot of ways that the fearful avoidant attachment style can develop, so there's no one fixed way, but there is a group where the fearful avoidant parent is very up and down, high and low, push and pull, and in those moments where everything is right, they can be so engaging, they can be so interested in you, they can be so loving towards you, and giving you elaborate compliments and gifts, and doing so many wonderful things for you and showing their love for you, which makes it so much more confusing when they become highly critical, or when they lash out, or when they retreat and become very cold and shut off. So I think a lot of fearful avoidance have experienced this maybe in childhood, and therefore it kind of feels familiar in a way, and it feels like maybe now this will stay, or maybe now I can be perfect and make sure that I don't mess up and the other person becomes angry. But that is obviously never your responsibility. It is not your fault if somebody gets angry, and it's not your responsibility to not make them angry. And a lot of people that use love bombing, I think, have that going back and forth. They might even have the fearful avoidant attachment style. Don't get scared that you are doing this unconsciously. I think it is a tiny group that really uses this as a tactic. And again, like I said, so many of these things are just wonderful things. Giving people compliments is a wonderful thing, and really thinking through a gift, a well thought of out gift, is a beautiful thing to do. So all of those are not bad things. But when you just throw all of that at one person, uh, just so you can get them to fall in love with you and get them to um, be completely obsessed by you, if you're using it for that on one person in a very short amount of time, please don't. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? This whole love bombing thing. I could talk on and on, but this video is already 19 minutes long. Is this clear? Are there any other questions coming up while you're hearing all of this? Have you ever experienced love bombing? What was your experience? I really do want to know. So please share in the comments. I might make other videos on this. As always, I am so happy you are here, and I will see you in the next one.